You may say everything the opposite of what that man wants to hear, but he's going to listen to what he wants to hear and think you're going to change your mind. Don't date Skeeter. Let's get started. So I stereotype these guys as skeeters because a skeeter is mostly like, in my opinion, an unattractive man. Actually, you know what? He may be attractive because he is a Gaston. So remember how Gaston didn't listen to Belle, even though Belle's like, no, thank you. She's making her verbal cues clear. You know, she is showing like all the signs that she's not interested. He's only listening to what he wants to hear. Let's call those, matter of fact, let's not call them Skeeters. Let's call them Gastons. Gastons are dangerous because it can easily lead to stalking. You know what I'm saying? So let me tell my story, and then I'm going to tell you what ChatGPT said. Okay. So this Gaston, it's just horrible. Let's start with this. So I'm at work. He is, to kind of show you the dynamic, he's like one of the managers, because we have a lot of managers in my job, and he's like older than me, like almost 10 years, you know what I'm saying? And that's a red flag for me because even though I think older guys are attractive, I do not date older men because no, you know what I'm saying? Anyways, when I was around him, I already knew he kind of was attracted to me like a few years ago because every time walking around, this dude glaze over me. You know, every time around him, I noticed him like look-key like checking me out, staring at me. It was I didn't really care and whatnot because he didn't make a move, you know? I mean, I was disgusted, but like, it's nothing really more I can do, you know? And then this summer, I had to work with this man, you know? So with that being said, this guy is horrible. So I really don't work with him and whatnot. But this time I had to work with him. So for starters, he does not listen. He likes to hear but not listen, and not just to me, but to other women as well. Like when a woman says something, he ignores her, and then he takes what she said and be like, "Oh yeah, I thought about this all by myself." Disgusting. I do not like that at all, especially when he did it to one of my coworkers. Oh my gosh, I love her. She's one of my bosses, and he did that to her. I was livid because I was like, oh my gosh, and I called him out on it too because I'm like, she just said that, and you over here going to take what she said as your recipe is disgusting. I did say that because that was wrong, and no, I didn't get in trouble because I respectfully said it. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, so another thing that happened was that I noticed this guy, so he kind of find out he's a quote unquote church boy. Now, if you watch my videos about church men and not to date church men, you see why I say church boy. Because first of all, this dude cusses like a sailor. Like, I kid you not. So you know how I'm talking right now? Imagine every time I say a word, it has a cuss word, like literally a cuss word between the words that's coming out of my mouth. That's annoying, okay? Especially when he's trying to give me advice. When like you're talking to me, I'm like, okay, can you like clean that up? You know, but at least in my case, I find that as a red flag, not because I'm also like a religious girly and whatnot, but also too, it's just that it shows your lack of intelligence. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can go 5 minutes, like, you know what I'm saying? Especially in a professional setting, that's a huge red flag for me. Second of all, I don't get my money where I get my honey. I don't care how hot the guy is, okay? I just don't. That's disgusting. Especially if you're one of the managers. Like, it's in general, but it's just more disgusting, you know what I'm saying? Like, ew. Anyways. So, let's get into what he said and what he did, because it was definitely Gaston. Like, first of all, he talked about how he wanted, so context, there's me and two other girls. One of the girls, she has a child. Another girl, she has a boyfriend. And me and these three girls, we cook and whatnot. Everyone knows that. And this guy, he was talking to us. He's like, oh yeah, I love to have a kid when I have like a whole football team and whatnot. And we all looked at each other like, ew, disgusting. Because first of all, like, I'm not listening to a guy who wants a whole bunch of children. Because, like, we all know how he's going to take care of those kids, okay? Especially the way he described it, where he's like, oh, I'm going to play with them. I'm going to have fun with them. He's talking about them like they're dogs. Like how on Sex and the City, how when Steve was trying to convince Miranda to have a kid. And how he's like, oh, it'd be fun. Like, that's weird. Like, do you not see children as people? Anyways, so then he said, oh, children are not that expensive. And so that's when we all gave the side eye. Because we was like, oh, buddy, that's disgusting, And if you go to Cecilia Regina page or not, she does a great description of how men view children in Exotical United, because they do a great breakdown. I highly encourage you to go to your channels. Anyways, so let me continue on. And then at one point, he asked us, he's like, how many kids do you guys want and whatnot? And I said 0. Because I don't want to. Me personally, I already know what comes with having kids. Whatnot. I don't want it. If you want to hear my opinions of children and how people try to lie to women about children and motherhood and whatnot, please let me know, because I love to give my full-blown opinion, because I feel like many people lie to women about what comes with having children. And I'm not saying having children is wrong, but I feel as though they lie to us about the reasons why we should have kids, and that is disgusting and dangerous for children. Anyways, let me get back to the story. I said 0. He said, oh, why? I said, none of your business. Okay? Because one thing I believe in, I should never answer his question in the first place, but yeah, you should never give a man, like, what's that called? Like, explain yourself to a man. Another thing is that while he was talking about like, oh yeah, I love my wife to cook and clean for me. And mind you, he's a church boy, so I already know what this lean up to. I already kind of guessed it, you know what I'm saying? Because guess what? I've been there and done that. So I kind of read him like a book. And so I was like, yep, he's a stereotypical church boy. And with that being said, he asked one of the girls, because he knows she has a man, and he's like, oh, do you ever cook and clean for your boyfriend? She said no. And funny enough, she said that how her boyfriend cooks for her, and she cooks for him when she feels like it. And me and the other girl is cheering on, because he's like, yeah, and he's like, when I tell you, this man was appalled. He was appalled. He's like, what? He's like, you don't why you don't want to cook for your man? Like he was appalled, like a woman has a choice. You know what I'm saying? And so then with that being said, he was like, you don't ever, she's like, no. She said, because he's like, he never gets angry. Red flag, because why we get angry over that? And she said, no. Oh, another red flag is too, he was trauma dumping about how, like, oh yeah, I grew up poor. Like, he was telling about how his backstory of him, like, growing up poor and, not having enough, but he wants a family, like a huge, large family. Anyways, that's a red flag. And, there are other red flags, but I need to keep going on with the timeline of the red flags that he kind of distributed earlier this year. And so, with that being said, I remember how how he asked us, the other two, the both of us girls, the one with the baby and me, and he's like, do you guys cook for me and when I said no? And I say, in fact, he better cook and wash the dishes while he at it. And we started cheering with each other now because we it was like kind of funny for us when I, but this guy was appalled. And then, next thing he did was that, sometimes when I talk or ask him a question, because when I ask him a question, I ask him like a business related question, like, hey, what to do? We had this and that and the other. Should I mark this on the paper or whatever? This dude was, you know how Gaston, how to play hears so badly, he doesn't even listen. He hears Belle, but he doesn't listen. He just go quick to offing the beast instead of like listening to like Belle. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's exactly how it was with this guy. And it got to the point he crossed a boundary. And it made me so uncomfortable. And that was another red flag. At one point, it was hilarious though. At one point, because the reason I say hilarious is because it was like, how should I say it? I asked him a simple question. Instead of him answering the simple question, because he wasn't listening to me, he went off a whole tangent. Like, almost, if I could say, 10-minute tangent about nothing. I kid you not, about nothing. It's like he'd been practicing talking to me. I don't know. I really don't know. At one point, another guy came up. He's like, hey, you're not answering her question. That was embarrassing. And then he tried to answer my question again. And ironically enough, when I tried to interrupt him, like, hey, you're not answering my question. I'm trying to hurry up so I could go do something. And he's like, oh, no, you're not listening to me. Unironically. He still didn't answer my question. And I had to tell him, I said, listen, you don't answer my questions. I just need you to leave. Yeah, it was so weird. Like, it was really frustrating working with this guy. But also with that being said, another thing that was a red flag for me, and if I see someone in the conversation say, oh, that's how men joke, that's how men act. First of all, you're defending men like you're getting paid for it. Please sit down. Second of all, I would delete your comment. So what he said was, and I find this extremely disrespectful. So he said, by the way, with some of these people I work with one night, it's mostly like white people. Don't get me wrong, it's like me and some other mixed people, and then there's some black guys and whatnot. But like it was mostly like white people at some point. You know what I'm saying? And I remember how he was making fun of the movie Roots. Because he said at one point, like, oh, yeah, and my mom beat me, like, my mom did this to me so bad, like, I started crying like the movie Roots or something like that. And I was like, that's extremely disrespectful. Because one thing, especially for me, I don't like making fun of movies that's, like, very, how should I say it? When it talks about things that happened in the past, especially, like, for people of color, like African Americans, Native Americans, you know what I'm saying, and Irish people, you know, I despise it, you know what I'm saying, because I don't like make fun of it. And when and I saw him making fun of a movie like Color Purple and stuff, and that's a big red flag, especially when he was making fun of the jokes towards white people. The reason I'm gonna, and you're probably like, why towards white people? And I will tell you later on what else he said too, because it got a little wild. And I remember I sat there and like, I did not laugh. I was disgusted because I find it very disrespectful. I don't like making fun of people's trauma. I don't care if it's like in the movies. It's just weird. It's disrespectful. It's not funny, you know. Another thing is that later on he went towards this saying white people and not. And by the way, they really didn't laugh. They was shocked. They you know how people make that shock face. You know, like, oh, like, ooh, why are you telling us? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, so that's what the face they made. And later on, he went to say something. Oh yeah, I'm gonna give you the N-word pass one night. I kid you not, that's what he said. And but needless to say, he was the only one laughing. And then I remember my boss said to you earlier, she was like, yeah, no, I don't make those type of jokes or do that because that's disrespectful either way and whatnot. Of course, as like I said earlier, they like to hear not listen. He kept going on, and it was very uncomfortable. Also, too, with that being said, he also had very toxic masculinity mindset. What I mean by this is that I remember how we was talking about like most of college. I don't know, like the other jobs we had at work or whatever. I don't know. I really don't know. Anyways, he was like, oh yeah, I work manly jobs. Like, I work manly jobs. Like, I always work manly jobs. I'm just like, oh, okay. Like, he was trying to prove that he was manly. And then besides that point, I remember how, like, when some guys came to, like, pick up their stuff one night and move it or whatever, and, some of the stuff was heavy. So I even told the guys, I'm like, listen, if you need to grab another guy, because these guys came and moved stuff for us, because we was trying, I don't know. And so he's like, oh, you're a man, you need to get this up. And when I was like, boo. You know what I'm saying? Like, ew. Because why you have that mindset? And that's very toxic masculinity right there. Mindset of thinking how should I say it? He started even like projecting to other men, if that makes sense, about his masculinity. And then to top it all off about this guy, and I low-key think he's on a DL. I don't know. Let me know. What do you think about this guy that I'm describing to you right now? You know what I'm saying? Because here's the cherry on top. I sometimes hear him call his other men co-workers that's like, managers or whatever, daddy. Okay. Yeah, that made me cringe so badly. I saw him say that, and I remember he saw him say that, and he looked so embarrassed, and I was like, oh, I'm embarrassed for you. You know what I'm saying? Or sometimes when he's talking about a story, he'd be like, oh yeah, and this guy is fine, by the way, this guy is fine, and then he had nothing to do with the storyline. And so, or like he kind of like be like, oh yeah, this guy's good looking, he got away because he's good looking and whatnot. You know what I'm saying? Let me know, please let me know, please let me know, because I think he is, but I don't know. I mean, I really don't care because he kind of creeped me out. And it doesn't help the fact that I sometimes see him staring at me when I'm like, for example, like across the room. And by the way, this guy listen, I don't like when men stare at me. I don't care if you're like good looking as Henry Cavill or like, I just hate it. You know what I'm saying? It's just because I know that you're thinking about something that's that's nasty. You know what I'm saying? I don't like that. I mean, I don't get me wrong. I like when it's a mutual connection. It's like, oh, I like you liking me. We already made that connection earlier before you started doing all that. But I hate it when I already made it clear in the beginning that I'm not attracted to you. You know what I'm saying? I already made it very clear. I already told you guys that it's something like, I don't want kids. I believe in like a guy cooking and washing dishes for a woman. A woman can do what she wants to do. I told him about basically, and I exaggerated. I will say I exaggerated to kind of confirm that I'm not interested. And even go as far as saying, oh yeah, I don't want to date right now. You know what I'm saying? I even went as far as saying like, oh no, like I don't believe in dating like guys, like people I work with, or you know what I'm saying. I made it very clear. And actually, at one point, let me be honest with you, I threw him underneath a bus during a conversation where our boss came up to us and whatnot. And this guy, kids, I told you, he's my manager. He told me to do something, and I was like, oh, okay. And I know it looked kind of wrong, but since he told me to do it, I was like, okay. And I remember the boss came up to us. He's like, hey, this happened one night, you know? And he said, why did this happen? I said, oh, because manager so-and-so said that it should be like this. I remember he got literally upset, and he's like, why would he say that? I was like, because it's true. To be fair, it is true. Could I have done something about it? Yeah, you know, fix the papers, but I wanted to make him angry. It wasn't that really big of a deal where you could cause someone to get fired or someone harm or in trouble or anything. It was one of those minor mistakes or whatever. But he was pretty upset. But it didn't stop him still. You know what I'm saying? It still didn't stop him. So I still kept doing what I'm doing, which is basically ignoring him, not laughing at his jokes, dismissing him, you know, because that's the best I can do right now. You know, as far as saying, like, if we had to do, like, a group meeting or whatever, whatnot, and stuff like that, I try to be like, hey, I'm feeling comfortable around this man. Please don't let me to be around him. And it does work. You know what I'm saying? So, I will say that. Anyways, with that being said, the moral story is, don't date a Gaston. Gastons are delusional. They don't hear. In fact, they believe you will change. You change and come back to them. Think of Gaston and Belle. You see how that turned out. And you see my situation right now. Okay? It's very disgusting. Okay? And I know some people will be like, what's that call it? Try and make excuses for the behavior. Please don't. That's disgusting. Anyways, Exotical Barbies, let me know. Have you experienced this? Have you seen a Gaston before? Have you met one? You know? Let me know. Because it's honestly pretty disgusting. And yeah, that's all I have. Let me know. Comment down below. Like and subscribe for some more. Bye.